Good evening and welcome to the Virtual Candidate Forum. I'm Mindy Hart and I'm here tonight with Ron Knight. You've probably seen Ron around town, especially if you've ever been into the little store. And so we're going to start with a little bit about Ron. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit just about the forum itself and the format, so that if you haven't watched one of the forums before, one of the interviews, that you'll kind of understand the flow of what's happening tonight. We'll start with a brief bio, little introduction. Then the candidate will have about 3 minutes to have an opening statement, tell a little bit about themselves, the campaign, what their position is on some major issues if they want to get that in depth up front. Then we'll have 5 questions that were previously submitted for the live in-person forum, and then they'll have about 2 minutes to answer those questions. If you're in the middle of a thought, I want you to express the complete thought, so finish your thought, just because if the timer goes off, keep going with your thought. I think it's important for the complete thought to be heard, more than, you're 2 minutes and 5 seconds, you're done. If we were in a live forum, it might be a little bit different, but we've allotted about 40 to 45 minutes for this tonight. Then after those 5 questions that every candidate is going to be asked, we will open it up to questions right here from Facebook, from the people that are watching. When this is played on the replay, of course, there won't be an opportunity for those questions to be answered except via text in the Facebook app. So it's really important. If you have a question, this is your opportunity. The election is 1 week away, and so your opportunities to ask these questions are dwindling down. Some of the candidates are able to make it out for canvassing visits to homes, but with COVID-19, many candidates are choosing not to do that and respect that the health of our citizens is paramount. So even with precautions, some of them are not comfortable doing that. So. Yeah. No one is right, no one is wrong in this scenario. We're just trudging through. Just a reminder, if you wanted an absentee ballot, that time has passed to be able to request that. You do want to make sure that you fill that ballot out and get it mailed back in time, or you can also drop it off at the Clay County Board of Elections. It is important that you know that if you wanted to do that, that request had to be in last Wednesday. At this point, the YMCA will be open for our elections. We know that the Clay County Election Board has taken great steps to make sure that people are as safe as possible, even having a separate entrance. I understand it's at the east side of the gym. That entrance will be used for the election purposes, but we would love to see everybody out there voting. This general municipal election, statistically across the country, every municipality, the general municipal election is the least attended election.
Yeah.
So we want to invite you to come out. So without further ado, I will introduce our next candidate. Our next candidate is Ronald Knight. He's born in Overland Park, Kansas, graduated from my alma mater, Park Hill, 2 years ahead of me, in 1986.
There you go.
Been married to Amy for 25 years and have 2 boys, Brandon and Michael. They've lived in the Northland most of their lives and has moved to North Kansas City in 2014.
That's correct.
And he's owned several businesses since 2003, but currently owns the Little Store Cafe since 2015. He ran the Northland Rams youth football organization that was associated with North Kansas City High School from 2008 to 2014. Ron, welcome to the forum.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Ron, would you go ahead, look straight into the camera and tell your voters why they should vote for you and why you're running, and give your opening statement.
Once again, I'm running in Ward 2. My life career that I have owned businesses, running youth organizations, coaching baseball, basketball, things of that nature. Being able to communicate with people in different ways and bringing different ideas and solutions together to get a project from A to B and bringing it together as a complete project is one thing I think I bring to the city. I think there's some problems we've had down the road here that in the past that they have started out good and maybe not ended as as they should have. So I think I can bring that unique aspect to the city. And the other thing is I listen quite well. That's one of the things I do. And I think with bringing that together, talking to the people in my ward and other wards, I can bring what they're saying to the council. I can put it out there, let them know exactly what's going on, be transparent on what a project is, how it'll be positive and negative, and then letting them tell me what they're thinking of it, and then taking that back and letting their voice be heard. I firmly believe that that is what my job would be in the council, is to get wards to voice on the table. And that's why I think people should vote for me.
Hopefully we won't have any more technology glitches.
Sure we won't.
How will you work to promote diversity in our community?
Well, the one thing, I think North Kansas City as a whole is actually quite diverse within itself, from the high school to the community itself. Mm-hmm. The amount of different languages and races that are in here are already great. Some things I'd really like to see is within the city itself, fire department, police department, staff. I would like to see them actually go out to the community and actually really promote some of us to come in. Hit the high school up. Graduating seniors, have you ever thought about the fire department? If you're going into college, have you thought about criminal justice degrees to come in and be detectives and things of that nature, to diversify every part of our city? Mm-hmm. So with that, I know there's more in there. So your housing setup, things of that nature. And then just running things through, encouraging the parks department to throw in different type of festivals and things of that nature. So just kind of just open it up to letting people express who they are, where they're from, and how they live. And I think that would help across the board in lots of areas, so people will understand what different people and where they come from, and why they do this is because this is what they do. In different aspects, from holidays to religious beliefs and things of that nature. And I think there'll be more understanding in the community.
Okay. How do you balance the needs and wants of residents and the business community? Because they're both important. How do you do that?
Well, actually, the business community and the residents, they do have some different needs, but they actually need the same needs. They're really looking at, they're two groups that really need to survive together, and they just really, if they can work together on what their needs are. I'll use an example of, I hear all the time that we would like to have a grocery store in town. Everybody I've talked to, we'd love to have a big grocery store. Well, by bringing in more retail business and getting them to grow, even like the grocery store we currently have, if those numbers go up, you can go to big stores, Price Choppers, Hy-Vees and such, and if you can show them that the money is being spent in the town, then they'll come in and actually build the store. So that's kind of people promoting our town personally as residents, spending our dollars in our locations, promoting it outside to bring people into our town, will actually drive the volume up, and then you'll actually start to see more things like bigger grocery stores, things that you might not thought of being able to get through that partnership between the citizens and the businesses. So it's really kind of it's we. It's not really them. It's not us. It's not them. It's really us together.
So as a follow-up question, a lot of times we hear that it's the rooftops that will drive whether or not a business comes into a community, and you're saying it's rooftops, but it's also gross revenues.
That is correct.
Okay.
Because we're just going to use the grocery stores. How they do it is they basically put a dot. They do a circle around there, and they say there are X amount of people have to live inside that dot. Rooftops. We don't hit that. I'm not sure if we made the whole city rooftops, we'd hit that. So you have to show them economically that would happen. So there's lots of industries that are that way that people in the town as citizens, residents, really want. We can accomplish that by utilizing the businesses and the revenue that comes into this town.
How will you recommend How can the city better communicate with residents, businesses, and consumers?
That's always been a tough one, a good one. Things are evolving constantly. You know, social media, of course, has been the big thing, especially what's going on today with COVID. But it's getting out there. It's the throw of the thing that most people don't like to hear too much is, one, as a citizen, a resident of Northtown, we have to be a little more proactive. We have to take it on ourselves just a little bit more. Use your city council people, the meetings. They all have emails. They all have ways to talk to them. Get your thoughts out there. You don't have to wait till council night. You know, you're setting up at 9 o'clock, you know, just wrapping up your evening, and you think of something that's really important to you. Shoot off a comment to the mayor, to your city council person, to whoever you want to put that out there. But get involved. That way, that's the first thing. You can do mailings, you can do surveys, you can do whatever you want. Until you get involved and you let people know, that's always the biggest struggle. The other thing is the city has to be 100%, transparent on everything they're doing. We need to know every aspect of a project. What's the good side? What's the bad side? That way we can make informed decisions. You take the road out there, which I'm sure, I hope we get questions on the answer. What's the good sides to it? What's the bad side to it? I personally asked some questions myself, and I've got, at that time, I'm sure it was what they thought was a complete answer. And in reality, it was not a complete answer. It was part of an answer. So I made a decision on what part of an answer I had. And so the information that you give to your residents is only the answers and recommendations that they can give back. I don't want to go too much into the road over there, but I mean, that was just a good example of there was something that needed to be done with the road out there for a long time. And I see people where they had to run across the road because the lights weren't set right. They get about halfway across and the lights changed. Now they're running, but it needed to be complete in what everybody knew about it, 100% when we were looking at it. So then everybody could have a informed decision and go, hold on, this doesn't look right, or this isn't right, or just the information has to be out there. So customers coming in, because that's kind of the residents to the city, we need to get a marketing plan. We need to get out there and let people know to come to us. We have some great arch sign, I know, on one end of the city. I think they're planning on putting another one on the other end. But nobody's going to see it unless they just happen to drive through. Or they drive here every day. We need to get out there and really market ourselves. Get people to want to come here and see what's going on in North Kansas City. One thing we need to do is get people to understand that we're North Kansas City and not Kansas City North. I have that argument a lot. Oh, you live in Kansas City North. Well, kind of, but really I live in North Kansas City. So there's just some of that stuff that we need to market, understand that we're in a unique community, which we really are. It's fabulous. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better city to be in. But we need people to understand that we are separate and what we have to offer. I mean, you could put a big sign down in Branson. If Branson didn't run a big commercial, nobody would go down to see the sign. So we just need to get a way out there to tell everybody else. You don't need to tell me it's a great city. I know it's a great city. I live here. I need the person in southern Johnson County to understand that this is a great city and a great place to come to.
What is your position? I love how these questions all feed one after another. Mm-hmm. What is your position on the streetcar expansion into North Kansas City?
I don't have all the information that is out there today on the cost. I used to run a business at 15th and Burlington, and they had sent me a study back then, and it did not make any sense whatsoever. The cost to reward aspect was not there at all. It didn't really drive anything. But as times change, it's something to always look at. I don't see the cost factor of it right now. I'm not sure exactly at this point if we would have the risk to reward program, if that would actually be in our benefit at this time. But I don't think we should ever rule anything out. The streetcar itself doesn't drive any direct revenue. It doesn't cost anything to ride it. So there is no revenue there. If you want to say my real concern, if it's even a true concern at this point, is we would basically be renting the streetcar from Kansas City, Missouri. So they're going to control the streetcar that we're going to be paying for. And we have a hard enough time distinguishing ourselves from Kansas City, Missouri to North Kansas City. So without any real information, that's just my gut feeling in that aspect. I'd like to say, at this present time, without seeing some real data, I don't say it's the wrong thing to do. At the moment, I feel that that's maybe something down the road that we need to relook at as things develop in our town, as things are growing and things are changing. Because that's one thing we constantly have is change.
So I want you to know it's very difficult for me not to ask a lot of follow-up questions.
Okay.
But being fair to all
talk
candidates,
a lot, so.
I'm following the format because, but my talk radio person is like wanting to scream and say, "Can I ask about 10 more questions?"
Okay.
What is your position on affordable housing in North Kansas City, including single-family units and apartments?
Oh, I hope I can keep this one under the timeline. I'm a little unique in some aspects. I think there's affordable housing is many different facets. Where I'm kind of a little bit outside the box is I would like to see us developing all of it, from single-family homes all the way down to apartments. The thing that I would really like to look into and really get the city to think about and look at builders and developers and things of that nature is more on the ownership end of it. Rent to own type things where I think people do much better when they come into community when they have the opportunity to own. They take care of it better normally. They feel more community because they're part of it. They own part of the community. So with that being said, I think it's the whole genre of all of it. You have to look at every aspect of it. But the part that I don't hear anybody ever talking about is making sure that maybe just because we're making some smaller houses or rental type things, apartment buildings, maybe they need to be more in condos where people actually can own it. Maybe we build more row homes. My understanding is today, if you want to build a single family home, you have to tear one down. I think there might be one empty lot, but I think actually the city owns it. So to have a single family home, you're either going to buy one that's there, or you're going to buy a house, tear it down, and start over. So can we look at opening up a little more of that? You have to build in both spectrums. You really do, to keep everything balanced and growing nicely. So I'm a little leery. I'm in Ward 2, which most of us were actually in the red brick apartments area back in the day. I had friends back in the early 80s. I visited them, and they were in really bad shape. I'm a little leery when you start getting into corporations or big groups that own something like that, because you're at the mercy of making sure that they maintain it. You can't talk to the homeowner. You can't talk to an individual over that one piece. They're relying on somebody else.
Somewhere.
Exactly. That may be in another country even. So I'd really like to kind of venture in and see what we could do about helping some of those people get into true affordable housing and ownership at the same time.
That's a new concept that we haven't had anybody talk about before, was how affordable housing and home ownership intersect. Good job. We do have some questions that are starting to come in.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the question, I'm going to tell you the follow-up question, and then let you answer the real question.
Okay.
What is your stance on Armour? You knew that was coming.
Oh, yes.
You alluded to that. But it was, and do you think the chocolate chip pie with pie crust should be a permanent item on the menu at the little store? So, but the real question, I'll let you answer her online about the pie. But the real question is, what is your stance on Armour?
Armour is was like a test. It was, once again, one of those things I've talked about getting through from point A to point B. I don't think all the parties that needed to be brought to the table were brought to the table. And when I say all parties, I'm talking about anybody that uses the road, from the fire department, police department, business owners, residents type things, everybody. And it laid completely out on the table what it's going to be. Not a little sketch, exactly what it's going to be. Like I said, I am a firm believer there's something that needed to be done with Armour. I don't even have to guess. We've already made, I believe this will be our 5th modification to the complete street. So it's kind of like the whole plan. If they've already cut off a whole nother section of the plan from Armour to 10th Street on Swift. They're through that part of the way. So the whole plan really needs to be re-looked at because we're constantly changing and throwing it away. So from a financial standpoint, we just need to step back and look at it. I know people have talked to me, we spent all this money on the road already, but you got to remember, every time we change something on that street, it's not like they just go out and change it real simple. I mean, it's not like, I just change a street sign. Some of them take engineers, that costs money. You've got street people out there changes that costs money. Everything costs money, so we need to relook at the whole entire package and really look at where we're going with it and what makes sense. It makes sense for everybody. You can't have a fire truck not be able to turn at an intersection without running over a curb. That doesn't make any sense. But you can't have people running across the street to avoid getting hit by a car, or somebody afraid to ride a bike down a street because they're afraid of getting hit by a car. It definitely needs changing. I don't think it works for a lot of the business people that are on the street. I personally are in a back street, so it's really hard for people to find me. But I just want to touch one more thing on. I hope I have time. But once again, our community is us. It's everybody here. Like I said before, the businesses, the residents, the people here. And we need to make sure it works for everybody. And that's what we really need to look at. Just get everybody together and keep everybody talking. As long as we're talking, I think we can do some just fantastic things with the city and the streets going forward. That makes it great for everybody, because the business want people to come to their places and spend their money. That's all we want. Residents, we want to be able to get safe from point A to point B, have our kids out there walking the sidewalks, going to safe parks. Our parks department's great. All the things with dog parks and all that. So we just need to really work together. The street needs to be changed more. I hate to say it, and it's going to cost us money. I'm not sure wiping it completely out is the right way to go. I don't have all the facts on everything. I don't know if there's some legality aspects and things of that nature. So, but I think there's still some tweaking that has to be done. And that's just a small section. So then we have to go both directions after that. And what's that look like? So the changes, does that, on the other ends, what does that do to it? Does that make the other ends even possible if you have to change from that? So then you got to go back to the original. So without all the information, that's a fairly tough question.
And not being on the council currently,
correct.
Like a couple of our candidates, you're not privy to some of those, some of the information.
Exactly.
So how will you communicate with your constituents, the people in your ward?
Well, one, everybody knows I'm a talker. So talking to me, I think I'm a very personable person that can walk up and talk to me anytime. I got a Facebook page. I've got an email set up that I plan on using for that. So it's not mixed in with any of my personal stuff. So when it comes up, I can easily get into and talk to you and respond to you. People can always come to the store and see me. I generally try to walk the neighborhood in the evening, so I'm out there doing that. But I just want to get in there and really get people to understand that I want to be able to put a project out there. I want to give you the good side, the bad side, all the information you need to make the best informed decision you can make. And then it's up to you. I need you to come back to me and say, we like this, or we kind of like this, but this would look better. Because those are all things that we're talking. it's all forms of communication that we need to keep open and get it to understand so we can make a great city and we can do it financially responsible.
How will you approach divisive issues where different groups want different outcomes?
Well, I keep going back to the same thing, and I apologize, but it really kind of comes back into it. It's to bring everybody to the table. And I think it also comes back to something we talked about earlier about if we had some setups in, say, and I'm going to use the parks department, where people fully understand what a person from the Middle East versus somebody from somewhere in Africa to the United States, just from wherever they're at, what their background is, how they celebrate life, how they think, their religions. I think that helps bring things together so people understand where they're coming from, and then getting them together in a round table type scenario for everybody to understand that when they say they want this is why they want that. So
I want to come back to the question,
okay,
because I may not have articulated it well.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a divisive issue
Okay.
that faces the city, and it
Mm-hmm.
could be anything, and clearly Armour Road has been that one divisive issue
Okay.
for the last year. And you have different interest groups wanting different outcomes.
Oh, okay.
How do you communicate and approach those issues with all of those groups? You talked about bringing people together.
Yes.
So how do you actually do that?
Well, the first thing I think you need to do is you need to get with your city council person, or actually persons, because there's two of us per ward, and then get into that section of the community and really kind of bring that together and find out that, okay, as much information as you can bring together, and find that somebody within that group, there's always somebody or someones in that area that have a like thinking and thoughts on the situation, and then bring them into the roundtable discussion, and then just make sure that everybody is diversified in there to make sure that you have it across the board. The street out here, for example, to bring everybody comes in there is all bike riders or all car drivers and nobody rides. That's not a good group to bring together. You need people that are literally going to be that ride bikes, walk, jog. I don't care. It just needs to be a good round group of people. You need to have women, men. I mean, it just needs to be a good group of people that really come together. And within the wards, at least in Ward 2, there's a group of people that we talk. I mean, I know most of the people. We get talking around there. I've got several of them. And we get to know kind of their thoughts and how they think and where things are going. And I think that's really how you go after that, is you just really, it's tough. Trust me, it's not an easy thing. I'm not trying to downplay it by any means, because it will be very tough to get that together. But I'm trying not to use keywords like finding little community leaders and things of that nature. It's just a matter of trying to break it down into smaller sections, going through those areas. It might be going into groups of different areas that you go in there. Maybe even somebody from a church. I mean, churches are part of our community. I mean, it's just something of everything. So it is very tough. I'm not going to downplay that by any means.
So it boils down to communication.
It is communication 110%. I just don't want to beat the horse to death.
I know. And so Armour Road, as big of a issue as it is, there's a question about specific changes to Armour that you might be referring to. In 30 seconds or less, what are just a few changes that you think would be important for Armour?
For Armour, I just think we need to go back there and look at the structure of it, the parking, the islands in it, the curbs. I mean, so people can turn. I mean, just that is really the basic of it. Not knowing what is going on the other ends of it, it makes it really tough.
So I think I'm going to interpret what is the question behind the question.
Okay.
You're not saying that you want to take the bike lanes out.
I'm not okay, first of all, I ride a bike. Every day that it's nice, I ride a bike to work.
Okay.
If I'm elected on the city council, as it stood today, I would believe I'm the only person that would actually ride a bike to work. Now, it's only 0.6 of a mile, but I would be the only one to ride a bike.
Well, knowing the person who asked the question, I know that is probably the question behind the question. So I wanted to get to the real question.
I am not against bikes in any way. I want to make sure people can ride their bikes. They can walk across the street. They can walk their dog. Once again, when I say complete streets, when I hear that word, that is what it is. It's good for everybody in every aspect. And that's what I'd like to see in our city.
What can our city do to build relationships with neighboring communities?
Well, the first and obvious thing is to reach out and hold our hand out there and ask that maybe the people that border us, we get together every once in a while and talk. I mean, that would be the easiest thing. Some of the things that have come up here recently is that we've made some decisions on without even talking to our neighboring cities, which just really surprised me. I was shocked. But we are a city and we don't have to ask permission, but it would be nice, just like we have a police squad in town that takes a detective from all the different cities, and they meet and they get together and they work on cases together, especially for smaller communities like us. If we'd happen to have a big crime, a murder or something like that, they can come over and help us, and our detectives help them too, because of course people move and keep moving around. So something in that nature, without knowing, because I'm not on the council once again, that we do that. I don't know. I've never heard of it being done. The most I've ever heard of cities interacting around here is pretty much since the COVID stuff, is there's been a little mayor meetings and things of that nature. And that was more, I've kind of felt was kind of state ran. You know, hey, we got to get together. We have to do this in order to make sure you understand this is how we want these things handled. So I think it's just simple if somebody needs to get it started.
What is your opinion on North Kansas City version of the let me see if I can say that word, the Ethnic Enrichment Festival?
It's a festival. We do all kinds of things in the park. We have a great park. We have lots of different spots in the park. We got the baseball fields, but you could use those too. I think that would be great. I mean, any festivals, anything you can bring to our city that shows that we're open, that come. We'll take everybody. We like you. It's just, I think those would be wonderful things. I mean, we have art in the park. It's a great thing, We got the concerts in the park. Of course, this is all for this. Movies in the park. I mean, these were all great things for the community to get together. And once again, I think a lot of stereotypes, things of that nature, could be a little squashed if people could really see and understand how we live and what our background and where we came from and understand that. I think you would just get so much more accomplished.
Thank you for answering those candid questions, and lots of questions about Armour Road tonight that we didn't have in previous nights. I would encourage you, if you have any questions about the Armour Road, specifically that topic of the other candidates, that you go back and ask that. We do have one last question.
Okay.
What do you think about how the City Council handled the stay-at-home order, especially in respect to Kansas City and Clay County?
I hope I can put this right. It's my feeling. So,
you're getting loaded questions tonight.
No, that's okay. I'll take all questions because I'm just going to tell you what I think, and it's going to be the honest answer. I'm just going to kind of go through the whole genre of what I thought. I know the big uproar was we changed the date from one point to the other. My whole feeling on the scenario was, one, and I really would like to have seen our city go, we are going to reopen or start the reopening process. I don't want to say reopen, but we're going to start the process on this day. And this is how we're going to do it. This is our game plan. You know, when I get so much worry about Kansas City, Missouri, or these guys, but this is our game plan. Now, backing that up just a little bit, I would like to have seen that North Kansas City reached out and talked to the surrounding cities, Gladstone, Kansas City, Missouri. I'm not sure if there's anybody else that actually borders us. I'm not sure if Avondale hits us on the backside anymore or not.
But Riverside and Avondale are definitely within the areas, the area that...
And worked with them before you came out with a game plan. And then here's our plan. I know we have to also at that time, you can't supersede the governor.
Or Clay County.
Or Clay County. So you do have to kind of work on with that. But at the same time, this is our game plan. Not unless one of those guys change it for us.
Okay.
I think at times like this, we need direction, stability. So everybody, and especially for the businesses, and for the homeowners too, we need to know that everything's going to be this way. It's ran great. The businesses and the families need to know, do we need to go out and get face masks? Because we're going to open in order to go into the restaurant or the grocery store, do I have to wear it? Is it mandated? Does the grocery store or restaurants or whatever may be open, and the Quick Trips of the world and stuff, what do they have to have? Because we have masks. It took me 2 weeks to get masks in. And then we ordered supplies to make masks, twice from Joann's and twice from Walmart, trying to get it in because the lines are so long. And they canceled orders because they ran out of materials. So it just takes, everybody needs the time to digest what's going to happen and then understand this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to handle it moving forward. It's a fluid situation. I've never been anything like this myself, but nobody else has. So is it going to change down the road? Yes, but at the beginning, this is us. And this is what we're going to do, and we're going to move on.
So last question, and I'm going to say it tongue-in-cheek. They want to follow up to the pie question. I'll let you answer that offline.
Okay, I will. I will follow up on the pie.
And when you go back to the stream, you'll see who asked the questions, so you'll be able to answer them directly.
Okay.
Now would be, and I'm going to move over to the camera for just a moment. Now's the time to give your closing statement. Talk directly to the constituents that are going to be voting for you and tell them anything that you want them to know that we haven't already covered, or just simply ask them for your vote.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking your time out to watch this. I've been one that went door to door a little bit. People didn't have a real comfortable feeling at talking to me with what's going on, so I decided to pull back for everybody's safety and just try to do it through social media. The most important thing at this point that I really want you to do is vote. Get out there, be involved, let people know what you're thinking, your current city council staff, your future ones. But that's what's really important to me, is just getting involved, letting them know, and voting. Because without that, we don't know what you really want. So I thank you once again for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in this evening, Ron. Thank you. Thank you for handling tough questions, and glad we were able to figure out some of the technology glitches. Yep. We will be back at 8 o'clock in just 15 minutes. Lisa Tull will be joining me from her home, so we will be using a little bit of different technology for that interview. And then hopefully Tony Saper will be joining from his home as well this evening. He has said that if he's not able to get his computer to work, that he will join me here in the studio. So again, the election is 1 week from today. Your polling place here in North Kansas City is the YMCA, and you'll go into the East Gym door. And just go out and vote. This is voter turnout in the general municipal elections is always very low, but I think that this is just my personal editorial here. I think that we've learned a lot of what we need to be doing to be good citizens from COVID-19. We've learned a lot of lessons, and who we elect in our local municipalities matters a whole lot. And in this case, probably more than any other elected official, because they have a direct impact on our life. So we encourage you to get out there and vote, and we will see you back in about 15 minutes right here on the North Kansas City Neighbors page.